Hey everyone, welcome to International Dark Sky Week Day 6. Tonight we are star hopping with Wendy virtually. I'm joined tonight by our Assistant Park Manager at Antelope Island. This is Wendy Wilson, and she is going to take us on a virtual tour with the program Stellarium. So if you have any questions, throw those in the comments and we will address those throughout the program, and then we'll have a little bit of time at the end to wrap any of those up also. So, all right, Wendy.
All right, thanks, Trish. Okay, yeah, so my name is Wendy Wilson. I'm the Assistant Park Manager, and generally a few times a year I would take folks outside and look up at the night sky and do a little star hopping, which is basically finding a constellation and then using that constellation to hop from star to star and constellation to constellation. So because of the restrictions right now, we're going to do this again virtually, which is pretty fun because I get to introduce you to a really cool program called Stellarium. And I know that it's been used a few times this week on different presentations. And I will admit right now that I probably underutilize Stellarium. I use it for really basic tools, basically trying to use it to find what's up in the sky tonight, or I can look back a week ago or look ahead, whatever day I want. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. We'll have Ryan in the background work his magic to make it as clear as possible. All right, so this is Stellarium. And like I said, it is a really pretty powerful program. It is, I'm just going to take you through a quick overview of the program and then we'll jump into some star hopping. But I want to show this to you because it's a great tool. If you're not super familiar with the night sky, this program can help you see what's up in the sky tonight. So if you wanted to come out tonight, I'm going to go ahead and just show you a few tools. We're going to jump down to the bottom. I don't know, hopefully you can see it on the screen. There's a couple of tools down in the bottom. There is right over here, there's a fast forward button. So I'm going to hit it and we're going to watch the sun it's going to get to be nighttime. We're going to go to about 2100 hours, which is about 9 p.m. So tonight at 9 p.m., this is what the sky will look like from a relatively dark night sky. Now, if you live in the city, it's going to look a little bit different. Let me show you how you can play with that a little bit. Over here on the sidebar, we've got the sky and viewing options. And on here, there's a lot of things to look at, but you can look at the light pollution level. So I'm going to pull this box down a little bit. If I lived in the city, I would click that up a few notches until pretty much you can't see any stars anymore, which is super sad. You can also take from the location database, so wherever you are in your GPS in your computer can pinpoint where you are in the light pollution. So when I click that, it puts us at about a 2, which is pretty nice. And then also on the sidebar in the day and time window, we've got, you can choose, this is where you can choose any date of the year. This is where you can, or any time of the year and then any day of the year. So this is 2021, April 10th, and we've got it set for about 9 p.m. So we'll just go ahead and leave it at that for now. I might play with that later to show you a little bit about how the sky moves, which is a really fun tool about this. So another really cool thing that I like about Stellarium is, again, back in the sky and viewing options. Up here on the top, you've got lots of different things you can click on. I wanted to show you just this star lore. So when we're talking about constellations and night sky stories, most people are familiar with like the Arabic and the Greek stories. That's kind of the Western, the ancient Greek astronomy. that we're familiar with. But you can choose any culture. Like let's go to like the Maya culture. And then what we would see if we clicked on that would be, let me show you here, this will be better if I do it this way. You come back to Western. Let me swing over so we're looking to the north to a constellation page that we're familiar with here. And zoom out a little bit so we can see more of the sky. I'm going to click on this little tool down here that lets us connect the dots. So we're connecting the dots in the northern sky. Some of these things you might recognize. For example, here's the Big Dipper up here in the sky. Here's the Little Dipper. Here's Cassiopeia. But if we come back over here, let's get it out of the way so we can see a little bit. And we click to a different culture, all the little lines disappeared. They don't have the same stories of stars that we do, but here's one that they have. How about the Navajo? So different ways to connect the dots. The Big Dipper turned into that. One man and one woman. I don't remember exactly the names of them, but so that's just a really cool way to explore other cultures and the way they see the night sky. And then let's see. I think that's all we're going to play with right now with this. And as we go through the star hopping, I'll show you a few other options as well. But let's start this night by looking to the north, because the north provides us with constellations that we can see throughout the year. The night sky, just like the day sky, the sun in the sky moves, it rises in the east and it sets in the west. Well, the stars do the same thing because the earth is continuing to rotate. So the stars rise in the east and set in the west. Or at least they appear to, right? As the earth is rotating. That's us that's moving, and the stars are pretty constant. But to show you a little bit what that looks like, when you're looking north, because of the tilt of the Earth's axis, the north, if we were in the North Pole and we looked straight up, this star, Polaris, would be right above our heads. Because we're a little bit further down, we're about 40 degrees latitude, it's about 40 degrees up into the night sky. But as the Earth spins around, this star stays pretty much put right there. So let me show you kind of what that looks like. And you'll notice, keep an eye on the Big Dipper. If you find the Big Dipper up here again, up here in the kind of the northeast part of the sky, keep an eye on the Big Dipper and watch how it moves through the night as I speed up the time. So as the Earth rotates, the position of the Big Dipper moves through the night sky. And so if we were to go out tonight at 1 a.m., this is where the Big Dipper would be. If we were to go out at 2 a.m., here's where the Big Dipper would be. And you kind of notice that Polaris is basically still right in that same spot. So we're going to go there. We're going to back it up real quick and come back to where we started, more or less, not daytime. There again, about 9 o'clock. All right. So these constellations that kind of circle tightly around Polaris are called circumpolar constellations. They circle the pole star, so they're circumpolar. And they, again, like I said, you could come out in the spring, the summer, the winter, any hour of the night, and you would see the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is never going to set below the horizon. In some areas, it might disappear a little bit, but for the most part, any time of the night, you can come out and see the Big Dipper. Likewise, the constellations and stars that are close to the pole star. So let's start with the Big Dipper, because everybody pretty much can find the Big Dipper. So let me turn on this little fancy, this might it's a little bit overwhelming because it turns on all of the constellations. But here is our way that we can kind of connect the dots. And one thing that I love to say about constellations is it may seem ridiculous and obvious, but constellations are not real, right? So this might represent the Great Bear, and you're looking at it and you're like, nope, that does not look like a bear whatsoever. And you're right, it doesn't, because they're just stars in the sky, and we've connected the dots to help us remember what stars are in that part of the night sky. So yeah, they're not real, but it's a way, again, to remember, hey, look, there is Ursa Major, the Great Bear, and I know that it's part of the Big Dipper, or the Big Dipper is part of it, so I can find that constellation. Stellarium also does a fun little thing. If you need some help visualizing the bear, we can turn on some of that more star lore pictures. And so there you see that he's a bear with a long, stretched out tail, sitting upside down. Different people, different astronomers will probably connect the dots differently, but this is the way the creators of Stellarium have connected the dots. I'm going to turn that off though, because that's not real. All right, so if we find the Big Dipper, it's upside down, right? So here's the handle of the dipper. Here's the cup of the dipper. The two ends of the cup are called the pointer stars because they point to, if you take a line between these two stars and extend it out about 5 times that distance, they point to Polaris, the North Star. And Polaris is the end of the handle of the Little Dipper. So again, you've got a series of stars that create the handle. It's been bent, so now it's kind of inverted, and then you've got the cup. And I like to imagine that this is the top of the cup. This is the opening where the liquid comes out, and because it's space, it can go any direction. I like to think of it pouring into the Big Dipper, and that's a really funky angle to pour into. But when the sky is a little bit different and the Big Dipper is right side up, it does pour into the Big Dipper. And then if you continue on, so you've connected the dots to Polaris. Hey, look, do you see the satellites? Let me zoom in. Look at those satellites. I bet those are Starlink satellites. Let's see. Bam! Look, see, you can click on anything and figure out what it is. So, and look, there's just a huge line of them. Let me zoom in again. You can see. Look at that line of Starlink satellites. Anywho, okay, so, sorry, squirrel moment. So if we come back to the pointer stars, we connect the dots, point to the Polaris star, and then we continue on. We're going to come to another constellation called Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is this nice little zigzag. You can think of it however you want. Let's see how the creators of Stellarium did. It's a queen, I guess, sitting in a chair. She's falling on her head at the moment. You could think of it as an E or a 3 or a Harry Potter scar, whatever you want. And it's another way for you to be able to find the North Star. If you can find Cassiopeia, this is the way I do it. So it's kind of a stretched out E or a 3 or a W. The part that's more tightly, more 90-degree angle, I'm going to start a line and I'm going to draw an imaginary line across the two tops right here, and then do like a 90-degree angle out, and that will point to Polaris as well. Okay, so I'm going to turn off these lines. And we're going to do this a little bit later today too, so this is just a practice run. If you're having a hard time seeing it because it is maybe you might be watching it on your phone or something, I apologize. I'm actually going to do something to help us see a little bit better. Delete most of the light pollution, so we're at just a 1, so hopefully that's a little bit darker night sky for you. And I'm also going to speed it up so that we're at a darker time of the night. All right, okay, so let's find the Big Dipper again. Again, you've got the pointer stars that point to Polaris, and then you've got the handle of the Little Dipper is pretty dim. In fact, most of it is, except for Polaris and the 2 end stars of the cup. I'll turn that on again for you so you can see that show up again. So there's the 2 bright ends of the cup. They're pretty dim. So unless you're in pretty dark skies, you may not see the Little Dipper. But then we'll go back to the pointer stars, go down to Polaris, and continue down to Cassiopeia, where you've got that little W, E, 3 in the night sky. Draw a line across, and then we'll bring you back up to Polaris. There's one more thing I want to point out of these circumpolar constellations, and that's Draco the Dragon. And Draco is in between the Little Dipper and the Big Dipper. And it's a line of stars that form a long, sinewy dragon, snake, whatever. So we're going to connect the dots to dot to dot as we come around. And then it kind of gets a little funky right through here. I just sort of make it up. And then we end at this funky little non-equal triangle or square. Let me turn on the connect the dots for you to see that. So you've got this long sinewy snake bending around, coming around, and then ending with his head right here. I'll turn it off again so you can try to trace that again just with your eyeballs around. And then again, it kind of just, you sort of just make it work through there, and then you've got the head right there. All right, so, and then now I'm going to just turn on the words. Look at all those constellations, and we only talked about a couple of them. So Ursa Major, or the Big Bear, which is the North, or the Big Dipper is part of that. Ursa Minor, Little Bear, Little Dipper is part of that. Cassiopeia, and then Draco the Dragon. So kind of keep those in the back of your mind, and we are going to switch that off and move to another part of the night sky, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to try to get through this and not take forever because there's a lot to see, and I don't want to overwhelm you either. So this is, let me show you another thing you can do. Back in the sky viewing, I'm going to reduce the labels of the stars so we aren't bombarded visually by a whole bunch of names. We just see stars and Mars. And I can turn that off too. Let's turn off. Oh, look, that's not it. It is, let's see. I know it's in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. There we go. We're going to shut off the Mars label. That might mess us up a little bit, but Mars is in here. And Mars won't always be there because Mars is a planet and it moves through the night sky faster, seemingly, than the rest of the stars. So in a couple of days, it's going to be out of the night sky and it won't be in this area anyway. But no, notice that we're looking to the west, and remember that the stars rise and set. And they also change position from season to season. So this area of the sky that we see now that's dominated by Orion, the hunter, you won't see in the summertime. This is just a winter constellation. So it's in the west, it's close to being gone for the season. It will be out of the night sky unless you get up super duper early in the morning. But for the most part, this is a winter constellation that you will only see in the winter. But we get the tail end of it here. So we're going to look at it because it's kind of fun. So most folks, if you can find Orion, they can find Orion's belt. I'm going to come up a little bit. Orion's belt, the 3 stars of the belt right there. And we can use those 3 stars to star hop through this area of the night sky. So if we follow the 3 stars in Orion's belt and draw a line out, we come out here to this bright, bright star. This is part of the constellation Taurus the Bull. And then if we continue on, we're going to jump up to another bright, bright star. This is in the constellation Auriga. And then if we jump over to another bright star, we've got a couple right here. This is Castor and Pollux in Gemini the Twins. And then we're going to jump down to Procyon in Little Dog, and jump down to Sirius in Big Dog, and then back down to Rigel in Orion. So what we drew there, if we connect those lines, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides of a whatever. It's the winter hexagon is what we like to call it. So it connects 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different constellations, all in this area of the night sky. So let me throw back some of those. Let's see, we'll wait until Capella pops up. Okay, actually, let's get Pollux out. Yeah. All right, so now we've got all of these labeled. So we've got and Betelgeuse in the middle of the whole hexagon, which is also part of Orion. So we're going from Rigel to Aldebaran, to Capella, over to Pollux, Procyon, Sirius. And the names of the different constellations. So we've got Orion, Taurus, and I'll point these out and how they're constellations in just a minute. Auriga, Gemini, Canis Minor, Canis Major. All right. So here's what they look like. So let's come back to the belt. Remember, this is where it all starts. Start with the belt, come over to Aldebaran in Taurus the Bull. So Taurus the Bull is a pretty cool constellation because maybe you could sort of see it as a bull, at least the head of a bull. You've got this kind of this pointy triangular section right here. And then his horns extend out, clear out and up, clear out and up. So you've got kind of the red eye of the bull and his pointy mean face, because of course he's a little big bull. And then you've got his horns right here. And if we look at the drawing, so you can kind of see that a little bit more, you've got his face and then his horns coming out here. So then turn it off and then see if you can see. So you've got this really cool kind of triangle, and this is pretty visible in the night sky. So if you can find Orion's belt in the next few nights before they set for the summer, follow it over. Aldebaran is a very bright star, and then the rest of it is not as bright, but you'll be able to see that face. And then you'll come up to the bright star that shares Auriga. This is all part of Auriga in this next constellation. It shares that star. And then you come up to another one up here. So you've got the 2 horns of Taurus the Bull. And then if we continue up to Capella in the constellation Auriga. So this one is one that you just have to know this is Auriga, because that's what, it's just kind of this hexagon in itself. But what it's supposed to be is this little goat boy, water carrier, goat boy, I don't know what he is. But so that's one that definitely it's not real. So you just sort of have to know, okay, that's Auriga, and it's this sort of hexagon in the night sky. All right, we'll turn that off and let you see it. So you've got these different points to make Auriga. And then we'll come over to Castor and Pollux, the twin stars. In the night sky, they look very similar. Pollux looks a little bit bigger than Castor and it's a little bit brighter. And it is, but in the most night skies, you won't notice that. But here's what that little stick figure looks like. You've got the 2 heads, and then you've got kind of some long necks, and then they're holding hands stretched across, stretched down to their body and their legs. It's a little bit tricky to see in the night sky, but you can if you use your fantastic imagination. So if you find their heads come down to this line of stars that cut across, and that's them holding hands, and then they continue to come down to like a belly button, and then you've got legs coming down here and legs coming down here. And if you can just find Castor and Pollux, you can be like, look, there's Gemini, the twins, and you would be close enough because they're right there. All right. So from Pollux, we're going to move down to Procyon. Procyon is the little dog, or Canis minor. And I like to refer to it as it's just a little Dachshund, right? It's just a little wiener dog because it's just this star, and that's it. Pretty sad little pup. So if we connect the dots, there you go, Procyon, the little dog. And that took a lot of imagination for whoever thought of that one as being a dog, because here's what they saw, I guess. Anyway, that's not Dachshund, but in my mind, that's what Procyon is. But it's important because it's one of the hunting dogs of Orion. He's got two hunting dogs, this little yuppie one that's jumping up at his shoulder, and then he's got the really cool one that's Canis major, or the big dog. And Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky. So that one is really cool. It's really obvious if you go out tonight as the sun's setting, look to the west, southwest, and you'll see this really bright star, and that one is Sirius. And then you've found the big dog. So I'll draw that picture, and that one they were able to actually make look like a big dog. So you've got some pretty dim stars to make up its head, but then the body and the tail, they're pretty obvious when we turn off the lines. So you can see kind of it stretches back to his back leg, out to his tail. Here's a front leg, and here's the dim stars of his head. So again, only on a really dark night, I think, would you see those. But the rest of it, you can see his little telly and his little back leg, and see the big dog right there. From Sirius, we're going to jump down to Rigel, which is another great big giant star. Rigel is the foot of Orion the Hunter. So Orion is a cool constellation. You've got 2 feet, so here's one foot, here's another foot. You've got his belt, and you've got his sword hanging down. Then you've got one shoulder, which is Betelgeuse, a giant red giant star, and then his other shoulder. And his tiny little pinhead right there. So I don't know. I've heard somebody say that he's maybe not very bright because he just has a tiny little pinhead. But in dark skies as well, you can see he's got a club there, and he's got a shield here. So pretty. This is one where you could use some pretty good imagination and make it look like maybe a hunter, right? So you've got his shoulders, his belt, his sword, and his 2 bottom feet, and then his shield out here towards Taurus the bull, who he is fighting, and he's got his dogs right next to him, helping in the foray. And then over, I must have set somewhere. Oh, I bet it's behind. There's the 7 sisters, which is the Pleiades, and I think Orion's trying to get to the 7 sisters, and Taurus the bull is getting in his way. Anyway, you can make up all kinds of stories. Okay, so let me turn all of those lines. Actually, first, let me just put the labels up. You've got Taurus the bull, Auriga, Gemini, Canis minor, Canis major, back to Orion. Let me turn off the labels and just turn on the lines. So again, we've got, if we start with the belt, we're going to come over, up, over to Procyon, or sorry, Gemini, over to Procyon, and then Sirius. And then back down to Rigel. So there's the 6 constellations of the winter hexagon. Now, if I turn those lines off again, and if I turn down the markers of the labels so you don't see the stars, can you make out some of those constellations? I'm going to actually leave and we're going to come north and we're going to do it here first. All right, if you're on the chat, Trish is actually monitoring that. So we're gonna see if there's anybody out there and you want to tell me what you can see in the night sky. This is again looking north. I'm just gonna, like, if you want to just enter it into a chat or make a comment, and then I'll expand that out a little bit. But we're just gonna look at the night sky as it would look when we go outside tonight. Of course, it's a lot bigger than what's on your screen, so everything's gonna be bigger. So can you find the Big Dipper? I'm guessing most people can. Can you find from the Big Dipper Polaris in this? There's a big hint. It's pretty much right in the middle of the screen. And then from Polaris, can you find Cassiopeia? Fun fact about Cassiopeia, it's right in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy, which you can see this kind of fuzzy area. I don't know how well you can see it on your screens, but this is the Milky Way right here, which is one of the arms of our very own galaxy where we live. So that's pretty cool. And then those are the three easy ones. Can you find Draco the dragon? I'll give you a starting point. Did you see the shooting star? Anyway, you've got the Big Dipper, you've got the Little Dipper. Draco starts about right there. So you can trace it out with your finger. Star, star, bends around, muddle through, end at this funky little square. All right, I'm going to turn on the labels first. Make sure everyone saw what you thought you saw in the circumpolar constellations. And we'll turn the lines on. So we've got the Big Dipper, pointer stars to Polaris, continuing down to Cassiopeia. And then in between the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, you've got Draco moving away around right there. Okay, there's a few other things in there too, but I don't want to overwhelm you too much. But notice, does this look familiar to anybody over there? Bueller? Yeah, that is, I'm going to turn the label on. We just learned about that. It's one of the constellations from the winter hexagon. So there you go. You can be able to see that for a minute more. Okay, we're going to shut it off. I'm going to swing back around. Everyone turn to the west. All right, there's the night sky looking southwest. See how many of those, and you don't have to remember the names of them, of course, but see if you can find the stars, the bright stars associated with those 6 constellations. And I will let you know that that one again is Mars. So that's not going to be one of the things you're utilizing to find those constellations. All right, we're going to start then with Orion's belt, right? Orion's belt, his sword hanging down. I'm going to zoom in really quick because it's a cool thing in Orion. I don't know how well you can see it on your screens, but one of the stars in his belt is kind of fuzzy. And the reason why it's kind of fuzzy is because it's not a star, it's actually a nebula. It's a star nursery. We're going to zoom in. This is what's cool about Stellarium. We can zoom in. There's again the 3 belt, the 3 stars. There goes another satellite. Also Starlinks. Big surprise. So we've got the 3 stars in Orion's belt and then his sword hanging down. Look at that. Look at that nebula. That is where stars are being born as hydrogen and helium condense with the pressures of gravity, and thermonuclear fusion happens and you get a star. It's happening right there. that's a cool thing to look at if you've got even a small telescope, is that. All right, let's come back out. Let's see which one's that one. Oh, that one's just a normal satellite. I don't know, it's called CZ4BRB. Okay. Oh, we need to come out a little bit more. All right, so the 3 stars of Orion's belt point to what? Correct. Taurus the Bull. I'm assuming that somebody said that. So yes, you can correct. You can come over here to Taurus the Bull, hiding almost behind this tree. And then here's his head. Can you trace out his horns? There's 1. Follow the V around. There's 2. So there's Taurus. All right, I'm gonna click on the line so you can see him again. There he is. All right, click off. Then we're going to come up to, I always forget the name of the star. See, that's why you don't have to remember. To this constellation, which is Auriga. I remember the name of the constellation. This kind of mini hexagon in the night sky. All right, we'll take a look at what that one looks like again. Okay. And it was on its side over here, right? It's because of the way that this program goes. All right, and then let's follow it up. What's next? Gemini, the twins, right here. Castor and Pollux. Can you make out the twins? Can you see their arms holding hands right here? And their bodies coming down, legs and legs. Castor and Pollux, the twins. All right, now what's next? It's the little dots, and the little wiener dog is next. Can you find it? Can you find the bright star that goes with it? There he is, right there, Procyon, and then there's the little dog. Okay, what's next? Well, you got the little dog, and now you've got the big dog, Sirius, the big dog. All right, there he is, big dog. And then we'll follow that down to the foot of Orion, pick out the last, where we started and where we end. So again, you've got his belt, shoulder, shoulder, foot, foot. And turn those on so you can see the last few. There's a few constellations I totally missed, like this one, because it's way too dim to see in most areas. So I pretend it's not even there. Okay, so we'll go from, again, let's just start at the foot. We got Orion, we've got Taurus, we've got Auriga, we've got Gemini, Procyon. Sorry, I was doing constellations and then I did the star. Little dog, big dog, back to Orion. Okay, so if you were to go out tonight, could you find any of those constellations, do you think? So right now it's showing at about 10:30 at night, and it's getting close to being set. So make sure you get out before then so you can see these. If you've got mountains on the horizon, you're going to lose Orion right here, so you won't see that. But if you're clever, you'll know that he's sort of here to the west, and you can find Mars, and you'll know that Mars is sort of near Auriga, and then Castor and Pollux, and then Little Dog. So you should still be able to see these top 3 constellations. And for sure, if you go to the north part of the sky, you've got Big Dipper, Little Dipper, Cassiopeia, and Draco the Dragon. All right. So I am going to, I'll keep this on a minute. If anybody, Trish, were there any questions that came up? All right, she's saying yes.
Yeah, we did have a question. Melissa, who is new to Utah, welcome to Utah, Melissa. She asks, is Antelope Island a good spot to look at stars? And some of our friends have answered in the comments. Thanks to Justina and Ryan for that. But as the person who kind of spearheaded our dark sky designation with the IDA, I like your comments on that.
Yeah, sure. So Antelope Island is an international dark sky park. There are 23 international dark sky places in Utah, and 10 of those are Utah state parks. Antelope Island was the third, is that right, Justina? The third state park in Utah to receive that designation. It is an urban adjacent park. That means we're close to the Wasatch Front. So we do get some light pollution, which is when we click it on here. We do get some light pollution from the city, of course, but out to the western part of the sky, you will see a really good night sky. You can see the Milky Way. You can see a lot of deep space objects, and it's close to the Wasatch Front. So you don't have to travel 3 hours to be able to see that. All right, anything else?
That was all of the questions. Juliet was the only person who could find the dippers and commented in the comments. So I wanted to give her a shout out.
Good job, good job. All right, that's it for tonight again. The park is open until 10 p.m. So if you want to come on out and see the night sky for yourself.